the last episode of How It Works, we told you about ship components, how complex ship structures are modelled in our game, what an HP bar is, and how armour-piercing shells deal damage. Today, we're going to talk about over-penetrations and ship modules. We advise you to watch the first episode beforehand if you haven't done so already. In World of Warships, just like in reality, there are various ways in which shells and torpedoes can inflict damage to other vessels. Impacts can cause damage to specific parts of a ship, and they can result in fires, over-penetrations and flooding, which don't inflict damage to a particular ship part, but to the entire HP bar.
Over-penetrations through a destroyed bow end or superstructure will deal 10% of the shell's damage to the ship, just as a standard penetration would. If an over-penetration connects with an undamaged bow end, no damage will be dealt to it or the hull. Inflicted damage will be subtracted from the HP bar.
It's possible for a ship to be destroyed with just over-penetrations, but in this case, the ship's individual parts wouldn't lose any HP. However, destroying a ship like this would simply take too long.
What we have is a system comprising, on one hand, of an in-game model that represents the structural complexity of a real warship with different values for her parts and compartments, and on the other hand, a wide variety of ways in which you can destroy the ship.
We should also mention another important feature of ship structures. A ship isn't just her superstructures, ends, citadels and casemate. What about her main battery, torpedo launchers, AA defences and secondary armament?
These are all modules. In other words, ship parts that are responsible for specific game functions. When you damage, temporarily disable, or entirely destroy them, you reduce an enemy ship's capabilities of firing and maneuvering, giving you a noticeable advantage in battle.
All modules are divided into external and internal types. External modules are the main battery, torpedo launchers, AA defences and secondary armament. Together, these comprise a ship's firepower. Internal modules are the steering gears, responsible for a ship's manoeuvring capabilities, engine room, responsible for thrust, and magazines, where the ammo is stored, which, if hit by a shell, can detonate and instantly destroy a ship.
For our models, in order to recreate the structural complexity of real warships more accurately so that a player's ship can continue battle even after losing some modules, every module has its own amount of HP, hit points, that aren't connected to the ship's overall HP whatsoever.
Let's refer to our battleship Fuso one more time in order to review how damage is dealt to modules. Her single main turret has 7,500 HP. Let's take an armour-piercing shell that deals out exactly 1,000 damage when it precisely hits a main turret of the Japanese battleship.
After the shell hits and penetrates the turret, 10% of the shell's damage is subtracted from the turret's HP, 100 hit points in this case. After that, the same amount of damage is dealt to the total HP bar of the battleship due to turret being an external module. The same will happen if a shell hits the part of a turret's barbette that's on the hull's exterior. Exceptions for this rule are the AA defences. Armour-piercing shells cannot harm them. Only high-explosive shells can deal damage to AA defences.
Another important aspect is that if a shell explodes against the main battery barbette part that's inside the ship's hull, the turret will have 10% of the shell's damage deducted, while the HP bar will lose the amount of damage dealt to the part of the hull part where explosion occurred. As a rule, it's a casemate and the entire hull, so 1/6 of the shell's damage to both the casemate and hull. Therefore, the ship's HP bar loses 1/3 of the shell's damage in total.
Finally, the chances for a critical hit are calculated. If Fuso is unlucky, a penetration may disable the main turret temporarily. It won't be able to fire or turn for 25 to 30 seconds if it's not repaired.
The amount of time a module will remain incapacitated for differs for each module, but when a module loses all of its HP, it's considered destroyed until the end of a battle, and it can't be repaired. One should remember that modules in our game can be divided into destructible and indestructible types. The engine room and steering gears are indestructible modules. All the other modules can be destroyed.
The steering gears and engine of a ship can be disabled only temporarily. This has been done to make playing more enjoyable. It would be unpleasant to be disabled in the middle of a map and have to wait until the battle is over only because your engine room has been completely destroyed.
Each module has a different amount of HP, and modules have different levels of usefulness in battle. But there is one very special module. It's the only module that's connected to the ship's HP bar, the magazine. The connection is direct, one way, and can easily be fatal.
If you hit a ship's magazine, the damage is dealt according to the same rules that are applied to any other internal module. However, a critical hit to the magazine will lead to its detonation. The ship will sink.
In order to avoid situations where a ship with full HP is sent to port after a single hit, we've introduced a limit. If a ship has more than 75% of her HP, the detonation chances won't even be calculated.
If a ship has less than 75% of her HP, the chances directly depend on the amount of damage taken by the module. Greater damage increases the detonation chances.
There is a perfect countermeasurement that can be deployed to avoid such unpleasant surprises. Signal flag Juliet Charlie. This totally eliminates the chance of detonation.